Step right up, step right up. Today's the day for an adventure in art at the one and only Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. You and me. And the echoes of history's finest artists, all under one roof. We'll wander through rooms where the walls are practically dripping with culture and where each painting has more stories than a library. It's not just a visit, it's a journey through the golden age of art without the need for a time machine. So grab your sense of wonder. Let's go make some history of our own at the Rijksmuseum today. This is the tympanum of the Abbey of Egmond. This portrayal, however, is not merely an artistic choice, but also a reflection of the investiture controversy. The larger-than-life depiction of St. Peter in the tympanum, bigger than the figures of Dirk VI and his mother Petronella, underscores to me the church supremacy over secular authorities. St. Peter with the keys to heaven would have been a powerful symbol of hope and salvation, reinforcing the idea that the church was the gateway to eternal life. I enjoy showing you this old tympanum as we start our historical tour of art and the social-political narrative of the High Middle Ages. Between the years 1000 and 1400 AD, I observed that the Low Countries, which include present-day Belgium, the Netherlands and Luxembourg, were abuzz with new forms of art. This was a period when people began to feel a sense of national identity. They erected large churches that demonstrated the significance of their faith. Artists in this region were renowned for creating items such as metalworks, decorated books and large woven tapestries. These artworks, which I admire, showcased the artist's exceptional skills. For the Christian identity of the people living in those days and circumstances, all this meant a profound connection to their faith and the church. The grandeur of its artwork served as daily reminders of their beliefs and the omnipresence of the church in their lives. The flourishing of art during this time fostered a sense of pride and unity among the Christians, as it was a tangible representation of their culture and spiritual heritage. The creation of strong, visual, imposing churches was not just an architectural achievement, but also a statement of their communal and religious identity, solidifying their place within the Christian world and underlining the importance of their faith in every aspect of life. Let me tell you this story of a time when art was a window to the divine, a tale from the Low Countries in the High Middle Ages. Imagine walking through a medieval town where every corner, every church, every home is alive with vibrant colors and breathtaking imagery. Here, art wasn't just a feast for the eyes. It was a way to touch the heavens, to feel the pulse of God's creation. I'm not just a bystander today, I'm an active participant, weaving through the streets, marveling at the grandeur of the cathedrals, the riches of the tapestries that tell tales as old as time itself. I see the goldsmiths, like alchemists, turning metal into masterpieces, and the bookmakers, whose every stroke of the quill is a silent prayer captured on parchment. This was a time when art spoke of power and piety. The church and the nobles didn't just display art, they spoke through it, declaring their love for the Almighty. And it was not just for the elite, even the humblest of farmers found joy and solace in the beauty that surrounded them, for it was a reflection of their faith, a part of their very soul. As the story unfolds, you'll see how this art wasn't just decoration, it was a declaration of identity, a bold statement of what it meant to be a Christian in those days. The towering spires of churches reached for the sky not just to impress, but to inspire, to bring the community together in a shared vision of something greater than themselves. The High Middle Ages was a period of significant artistic development. Painters were masters of their craft, employing a variety of techniques and materials to create their masterpieces. The most common medium used was tempera, which is a fast-drying paint made from colored pigments, mixed usually with egg yolk. This medium allowed for a high degree of precision and fine detail, which is characteristic of the period's art. Artists also began experimenting with oil paints, which offered a richer, more luminous finish and allowed for more extended working times. The oil paint was made by grinding pigment with linseed or walnut oil, which could then be built up in layers to create depth and texture. This technique was revolutionary and would later dominate Western arts. The use of gold leaf and intricate detailing with fine brushes was also prevalent, adding to the luminosity and ethereal quality of the paintings. The preparation of panels for painting was a laborious process. Panels were typically made from oak, which was abundant in the region, and had to be carefully seasoned and primed with layers of gesso, a mix of chalk and glue, to create a smooth surface. The gilding process involved applying a thin layer of gold leaf over a bowl, a reddish clay that provided a warm undertone to the gold. Artists of the High Middle Ages were often part of guilds, which were associations that regulated the trade and ensured the quality of the work. These guilds also provided a network of support for the artists, including training and the sharing of techniques. Painters often worked in workshop, with apprentices and journeymen contributing to the completion of commissions. The life of a painter during this time was one of both reverence and challenge. While their skills were highly sought after, they were also subject to the demands of patrons, who often had specific requirements for the content and style of the paintings. Painters had to balance their artistic integrity with the need to satisfy their clients, who were typically wealthy nobles or members of the clergy. In terms of living conditions, painters in the High Middle Ages lived much like other skilled craftsmen. They resided in towns and cities, often near their workshops, and their social status could vary greatly. Some achieved fame and wealth, while others lived modestly. However, their contribution to the cultural and artistic heritage of the period was immeasurable. The legacy of those artists is not only in the paintings that survive, but also in the techniques and the materials they developed. In the High Middle Ages, the Low Countries were made up of many small areas ruled by different lords. These lords had a lot of power because there was no strong king or emperor to control them. This meant that towns could make their own rules and people had some freedoms, like trading goods and making things to sell. But sometimes the lords would fight, which could make life hard for the people. Even with these fights, the Low Countries did well, because they were good places for trade and farming. The way people lived every day was also shaped by these politics. In some places, everyone was more equal, and even regular people could own land. In other places, the noblemen and the church had most of the power and the land. The church was very important in everyone's life. It helped take care of people who were poor and taught the children. The church was so powerful that sometimes church leaders were also political leaders. The history of the Low Countries during this time is full of different stories because of the politics. It created a place with many kinds of people and ways of life. We can still see this in the area today, with its many languages and cultures. Emperor Charles V, born into the influential House of Habsburg, was a pivotal figure in European history, holding the titles of Holy Roman Emperor and King of Spain, among others. His reign saw the Netherlands under Habsburg control, and his policies there were marked by a complex interplay of governance, economics, and religion. As Lord of the Netherlands, Charles V inherited a prosperous and relatively autonomous region, known for its burgeoning trade and commerce. However, his reign was also characterized by efforts to centralize his power, which sometimes led to tensions with local Dutch authorities and the merchant class. Additionally, the spread of Protestantism presented a significant challenge to his rule, leading to religious conflicts that would continue beyond his abdication. Charles V is remembered for his contribution to the arts and culture, patronizing many works that would come to define the Dutch Renaissance. His abdication in 1555 and the subsequent division of his empire set the stage for the 80 Years' War, which would eventually lead to the independence of the Dutch Republic. The Dutch nobility played an important role in shaping the society and culture of the Netherlands. This period was marked by a feudal system, where the nobility held vast tracts of land and wielded significant power over the peasantry. Their way of life was characterized by chivalric codes which emphasized honor, loyalty, and martial prowess. Religion was a cornerstone of their existence, with Christianity permeating every aspect of life. The nobility were often patrons of the church, and it was not uncommon for members of noble families to hold high positions within the ecclesiastical hierarchy. The Crusades, a series of religious wars sanctioned by the Latin Church, had a profound impact on the Dutch nobility. Many nobles took upon the cross and journeyed to the Holy Land, driven by piety, the promise of indulgence, and the lure of glory and riches. These campaigns were seen as an expression of their religious fervor and a means to uphold Christian values against perceived threats. In terms of governance, the nobility had a hand in ruling the Dutch citizens and society through a system of manorial courts. They exercised judicial power and were responsible for maintaining order and dispensing justice within their domains. The nobility's judgments were based on a combination of local customs, feudal law, and the emerging common law. This period also saw the development of representative institutions, such as the States General, where the nobility, along the clergy and the burghers, had a voice in the broader governance of the land. Honor was a central concept for the Dutch nobility, influencing their conduct in both private and public life. Duels and tournaments were common ways to resolve disputes and demonstrate valor. The concept of honor extended to their interactions with the lower classes, where nobles were expected to be just and protective, albeit within the strict hierarchy of the feudal system. The Dutch nobility's influence began to wane with the rise of the merchant class and the centralization of royal power. The Order of the Golden Fleece, founded in 1430, was one of the most prestigious orders of knighthood. The knights of this order were often involved in significant historical events, shaping the political and social landscapes of their time. These narratives not only provide a glimpse into the lives of the Dutch nobility, but they also reflect the broader themes of power, loyalty, and ambition that defined the High Middle Ages. The Rijksmuseum, a Dutch national treasure and architectural masterpiece, was designed by Pierre Cuypers, who was not initially the first choice for its design. His vision for the museum was a fusion of Gothic and Renaissance styles, drawing inspiration from his background as the son of a church painter and his advocacy for Gothic architecture. The building's foundation required a staggering 8,000 piles to support its structure. The Night Watch room, specifically created to display Rembrandt's iconic painting, served as the heart of the museum. This space was meticulously crafted to enhance the viewing experience of the Night Watch. The Rijksmuseum's architecture is not only a shelter for art, but also a narrative of the Netherlands' cultural heritage, with over 30 galleries dedicated to the Dutch Golden Age, reflecting the era's prominence in trade, science and the arts. Cuypers' design cleverly incorporated elements that highlighted the Dutch Golden Age, ensuring that the museum itself became a canvas showcasing the zenith of Dutch art and architecture. The Rijksmuseum stands as a symbol of the Low Countries' rich artistic and architectural traditions, inviting visitors to step into a space where history and creativity converge. The Dutch Golden Age, spanning the 17th century, was a period of remarkable prosperity and artistic achievements in the Netherlands. This era saw a flourishing of the arts, science and trade, coinciding with the country's newfound independence from Spanish rule. Artisans and artists of the time such as Rembrandt van Rijn, Johannes Vermeer and Frans Hals revolutionized the art world with their contributions to what became known as Dutch realism. This movement was characterized by a focus on everyday life, detailed landscapes and still life paintings that captured the essence of Dutch society. The Dutch Golden Age was a period of unprecedented economic growth, cultural development and colonial expansion, coincided with the 80 Years' War. This juxtaposition of prosperity and conflict may seem paradoxical, but it can be understood through the lens of the era's unique circumstances. The war, which lasted from approximately 1568 to 1648, was rooted in religious and political tensions, as the predominantly Protestant northern provinces sought autonomy from the Catholic Habsburg Empire. Despite the ongoing conflict, the Dutch Republic managed to thrive due to several factors. The war itself stimulated military and naval innovations, and the Dutch were able to capitalize on their strategic geographic positions for trade. Moreover, the decline of Spanish power and the disruption of traditional trade routes allowed the Dutch to gain control over lucrative trade networks, particularly in the East Indies. The Republic's decentralized political structure also fostered a climate of relative religious tolerance and intellectual freedom, which attracted skilled immigrants, including merchants and artisans, further bolstering the economy. The Dutch pioneered financial innovations such as the stock exchange and joint stock companies like the VOC, Dutch East India Company, which facilitated the pooling of capital for large-scale ventures. These economic advancements, combined with a flourishing art scene and scientific progress, defined the Golden Age. Thus, the Dutch experience during this period illustrates how adversity and prosperity can coexist, leading to a vibrant society and robust economy despite the backdrop of war. Michiel de Ruyter, a renowned Dutch admiral, is best remembered for his audacious maritime operation against the English during the Second Anglo-Dutch War. In June 1667, de Ruyter led a daring expedition up the River Medway, which culminated in the Battle of Chatham. The bold maneuver not only startled the people of London, but also dealt a significant blow to the English by capturing their pride, the AMS Royal Charles. The raid on the Medway was a masterstroke of naval strategy and execution, showcasing de Ruyter's exceptional leadership and the Dutch Navy's prowess. The operation began with the Dutch fleet capturing the forts at Sheerness, followed by a strategic advance into the River Medway to confront English fleet at Chatham. The Dutch forces under de Ruyter's command bombarded English fortifications with cannon fire, burned or captured several warships, and achieved remarkable feat of towing away the English flagship. The event was not just a military victory but also a psychological one, as it exposed the vulnerability of the English defenses and left an indelible mark on the collective psyche of the English populace. The aftermath of the raid was politically disastrous for England, leading to a hastened end to the war and the signing of the Treaty of Breda, which was favorable to the Dutch. The raid on Medway stands as one of the most significant naval operations in history and solidified Michiel de Ruyter's legacy as one of the most skilled naval commanders of all time. In science, the Dutch Golden Age was equally prolific. Figures like Antony van Leeuwenhoek, the father of microbiology, and Christian Huygens, a prominent mathematician and physicist, made groundbreaking discoveries that propelled the scientific community forward. The period was also marked by significant advancements in astronomy, with scientists such as Jan Swammerdam contributing to the study of insect and human anatomy. Johan de Witt, born into a well-established family in 1625, rose to become one of the most influential statesmen of the Dutch Golden Age. His father's opposition to the House of Orange shaped Johan's political stance, leading him to adopt a staunchly Republican view. The wit's brilliance in mathematics and government saw him ascend to the position of Councillor Pensionary of Holland at the young age of just 28, when he skillfully navigated the complex political landscape of the time. However, Johan's tenure was not without its challenges. His brother Cornelis also played a significant role in the political arena, but his fate took a dark turn when he was accused of treason against Willem III of Orange. Following military defeats against England, France, and German states, the De Witt brothers were scapegoated for the Republic's misfortunes. And in a tragic culmination of events, both Johan and Cornelis were brutally lynched by a mob in The Hague. This was the Dutch Golden Age, a time when the small nation became a colossal force in global trade, thanks to two powerful companies, the Dutch East India Company and the Dutch West India Company. The VOC, established in 1602, was the world's first multinational corporation and the first company to issue stocks. It had a monopoly on the lucrative spice trade with Asia, and its ships sailed the high seas to bring back treasures that were the envy of Europe. The WIC, the WC, or West India Company, founded in 1621, focused on trade in the Atlantic, dealing in commodities like sugar, tobacco, and even engaging in the transatlantic slave trade, while also colonizing parts of the Americas. These companies were the engines of the Dutch economy. But this golden age was not to last forever. The very success of the VOC and the West Indian Company sowed the seeds of their downfall. The companies faced fierce competition from other European powers like England and France, who were eager to get their share of the global trade pie. The Dutch also fought costly wars to protect their trade routes and colonies, draining their resources. The rampjaar, or disaster year of 1672, saw the Dutch Republic attacked by France, England, and two German princes, bringing it to the brink of collapse. The end of the Golden Age was a slow decline rather than a sudden fall. East India Company and the West India Company, once symbols of Dutch power, became bloated and corrupt, and their monopolies stifled innovation. The vast wealth they had created led to a speculative bubble, and when it burst, it caused an economic crisis. The final blow came in the late 18th century, when the British seized many Dutch colonies during the Napoleonic Wars, signaling the end of the Netherlands as a major colonial power. Yet, the legacy of the Dutch Golden Age lives on. The art, science, and ideas from that era continue to influence the world today. Financial innovations of the East India Company are still with us in the form of modern stock exchanges and corporations, and the story of the rise and fall of the Dutch Golden Age serves as a lesson in the ebb and flow of history, reminding us that empires rise and fall, but their contributions can endure for centuries. So when we think of the Dutch Golden Age, we remember not just the wealth and not just the power, but also the enduring impact of its cultural and scientific achievements. Imagine a time when the world was still full of mysteries and the sea was a vast, uncharted territory. This was the era of daring voyages and grand adventures. In the 17th century, the Dutch were at the forefront of this maritime exploration, and one of their heroes was Piet Hein. He was a clever admiral who managed to capture a fleet filled with silver, which was as good as a treasure in those days. This fleet belonged to the Spanish, who were not too happy about losing it, as you can imagine. Now, this event was huge because it meant that the Dutch had more money to support their country and to continue their expeditions. The VOC set up shop in several key locations. India, where they traded fine textiles and spices. China, where they exchanged silver for silk and tea. Ceylon, which is now known as Sri Lanka, for its precious cinnamon. And even Japan, where they were the only Europeans allowed to trade for a long, long time. They operated from a tiny island called Dejima, which was the only window Japan had to the Western world for over 200 years. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. The VOC also had a darker side, as they were involved in things that we consider very, very, very wrong today, like the slave trade. They were also pretty tough on the people in the places they controlled, which is something we call colonial exploitation today. While they were great at making money and exploring, they also made a lot of mistakes that affected people, many people's lives. In the end, the story of Piet Hein and the VOC is a mix of bravery, adventure, smart business, and some not so great moments. It's a chapter that teaches us about the good and the bad of exploring the unknown and reminds us that every story has many sides to it. So when you think about these Dutch sailors and traders, remember that they were a bit like us, trying to make their way in the world, sometimes doing great things and sometimes making big mistakes. During the Dutch Golden Age, a period of great economic prosperity and cultural achievement in the 17th century, Amsterdam's merchants amassed considerable wealth, which was often reflected in the luxurious items they adorned their houses and homes with, such as clocks, tapestry, plates, and mirrors. This wealth was in part a result of the Netherlands' extensive trade networks, which included the trafficking and enslavement of people from Africa and Asia. The prevailing Christian beliefs among these merchants were largely shaped by Protestantism, especially Calvinism. The Dutch Reformed Church was the dominant religious institution, and its teachings often intersected with the economic activities of the time, including the justification of slavery. The concept of predestination in Calvinism, which posits that God has predetermined the salvation or damnation of individuals, was sometimes used to rationalize the social hierarchy and the subjugation of non-European peoples. This belief system contributed to a sense of superiority and entitlement among the Dutch, which was reflected in their attitudes toward God and their treatment of others, including those they enslaved. However, it is important to note that there was also a degree of religious tolerance in the Dutch Republic, which allowed for a variety of Christian denominations as well as other religions to coexist. This tolerance did not necessarily translate into egalitarian attitudes towards all humans, as the wealth of the Dutch Golden Age was built on the backs of enslaved Africans and exploited Asians. The merchants' attributes towards these groups were often dehumanizing, viewing them as commodities rather than fellow human beings with an inherent dignity and worth. The legacy of this period is complex, as it holds both the remarkable cultural achievements of the Dutch Golden Age and the brutal realities of colonialism and slavery. In recent years, there has been a growing recognition of this duality, and efforts have been made to confront and acknowledge the darker aspects of this history. As someone who is interested in history, it is crucial to present a balanced view of the past, recognizing not only the contributions and advancements of the era, but also critically examining the moral and ethical implications of the actions of the time. This approach allows me to understand the multifaceted nature of history and the ways in which it continues to shape our present and future. The first king with French ties was King Louis Bonaparte, appointed by his brother Napoleon Bonaparte after the creation of the Kingdom of Holland. However, this kingdom was short-lived, as Napoleon's defeat at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815 marked the end of French domination in Europe and the beginning of a new chapter for the Netherlands. Napoleon's rise and fall are important in European history. He rose through the ranks during the French Revolution and established himself as a military and political leader, eventually becoming Emperor of France. His ambitious expansion across Europe led to widespread conflict, known as the Napoleonic Wars. However, his campaign ended with his defeat at Waterloo by the Allied forces under the Duke of Wellington, leading to his abdication and the restoration of the Bourbon monarchy in France. The Batavian Revolution, the rise of the first Dutch king with French ties, and the fall of Napoleon at Waterloo are interconnected events that shaped the course of Dutch history. They reflect the complex interplay of political power, social change, and the quest for democracy that characterized this period. From the perspective of the Rijksmuseum, the narrative of French art during and after Napoleon's reign is deeply intertwined with the Netherlands' own cultural heritage. Established on a French model in 1798, the Rijksmuseum was initially a symbol of national pride and unity, housing significant works that reflected the artistic trends of the time. During Napoleon's rule, his brother Louis Bonaparte relocated the national collection to Amsterdam, enriching it with prominent Dutch masterpieces such as Rembrandt's The Night Watch. This move signified a melding of French influence with Dutch artistic identity, creating a unique fusion that is evident in the museum's collection today. The neoclassical style, prevalent during Napoleon's era, emphasized order and rationality, which resonated with Dutch aesthetic of balance and precision. Artists like Jacques-Louis David, who was at the forefront of this movement, produced work that not only served as political propaganda but also as a benchmark of artistic excellence. His influence extended to Dutch artists, who adapted the neoclassical ideals to their own traditions, creating work that were both reflective of the times and uniquely Dutch. After Napoleon's fall, the Rijksmuseum's collection continued to evolve. The Romantic movement, which emerged as a counterpoint to neoclassicism, brought forth a new wave of emotional expression and individualism. This shift is captured in the museum's holdings, showcasing the diversity of artistic responses to the changing political and social landscapes. The museum's collection from this period highlights the dialogue between French and Dutch art, as Dutch artists engaged with romantic themes while retaining a distinctive national character. Moreover, the Rijksmuseum itself, designed by Pierre Cuypers and opened in 1885, is a testament to the lasting impact of the Napoleonic era on Dutch culture. Cuypers' design, which combines Gothic and Renaissance elements, reflects the historical significance and nationalistic spirit that were hallmarks of the period. The museum's architecture and its collection serve as a narrative of the Netherlands' journey through a time of French dominance to a renewed sense of Dutch identity and independence. In essence, the Rijksmuseum not only preserves the artistic legacy of the Napoleonic era, but also tells the story of the Netherlands' cultural resilience and adaptability. The latter part of the 19th century saw the rise of Impressionism, with artists like Monet and Renoir breaking away from the traditional methods of representation to capture the fleeting effects of light and color through rapid brushstrokes. Post-Impressionism followed, where artists like Van Gogh sought to bring a greater sense of emotion and symbolism to their work, using vivid colors and expressive brushwork to convey their innermost feelings. Van Gogh's unique style, characterized by thick application of paint and dynamic, swirling brushstrokes, would later influence many modern art movements, including Expressionism and Fauvism. Each of these movements brought a new way of seeing and representing the world, pushing the boundaries of artistic expression and setting the stage for the diverse array of styles that would define the 20th century. The journey from structured composition of neoclassicism to the vibrant, emotive canvases of Van Gogh represents a remarkable evolution in artistic thought and techniques, one that continues to inspire and influence artists today. The transformation of art styles from the era of Napoleon to Van Gogh is a testament to the enduring power of visual art to capture and reflect the human experience. The Rijksmuseum Special Collections section is a testament to the diverse and rich cultural heritage of the Netherlands, showcasing items that range from maritime history to decorative arts. The journey through this collection begins with an impressive array of ship models, including the grandiose William Rex, a testament to Dutch naval power in the 17th century. These meticulously crafted models are not only artistic marvels, but also historical artifacts that offer insights into shipbuilding techniques and naval strategies of the past. We can marvel at the detailed craftsmanship of these models, which were once used for building actual naval ships and for training sailors. The Rijksmuseum's dedication to preserving and showcasing these models ensures that the legacy of the Dutch seafaring continues to inspire and educate future generations. Visitors can explore these collections and gain insights into the technological advancements and artistic achievements of the Golden Age and beyond. The ship models in particular are not only historical records, but also works of art, reflecting the intricate design and engineering skills of their creators. Here, you can also find a remarkable collection of firearms that are not only significant in their historical and cultural value, but also in their craftsmanship and design. The majority of these firearms are Dutch and date back to the 17th and 18th centuries, a testament to the Netherlands' rich history in arms manufacture. Dutch firearms were renowned for their sound quality, slender lines, and the perfect marriage of simplicity and functionality. This collection includes both military and civilian firearms, ranging from sporting guns for weapons that were exchanged as diplomatic gifts. Among the most exceptional pieces are the 17th century pistols with ivory stocks crafted exclusively in Maastricht, which was so costly that they were rarely used. Over time, gunsmiths, as well as silversmiths, carvers, and engravers, began to lavish greater attention to the ornamentation of weapons, turning them into works of art. Some weapons in the collection have celebrated owners, including stadholders, naval heroes, and even Napoleon. A particular unusual object is a ring with a tiny flintlock mounted in rock crystal. The museum's collection, which includes close to 600 objects, owns a significant part to the private collection assembled by Henk Visser. Notable items on display include a pair of wheel-lock pistols by Peter Masons from the mid-17th century and a matchlock musket from the early 17th century. The collection further features a case with dueling pistols by Jean Lepage from the early 19th century, highlighting the evolution of firearms designs over centuries. The special collection of firearms is not just an exhibition of weaponry, but a display of historical narratives technological advancements, and artistic endeavors that have influenced the development of firearms throughout history. Yep, you can go. Porcelain is another highlight in the special collections, and one of the most significant collections of Meissen porcelain outside Germany, thanks to the contributions of Fritz Mannheimer. This collection includes not only Meissen, but also pieces from Sèvres and Delft, illustrating a rich exchange of craftsmanship and artistry across Europe. The Delft Blue collection, with its iconic blue and white ceramics, represent a quintessential Dutch art form that has been cherished for centuries. The museum's collection includes pieces from the golden age of Delftware in the 17th century, such as the famous tulip vases and the earthenware violin, showcasing the genius and creativity of Dutch artisans. The collection of Delftware, including iconic blue and white tiles, represent a significant chapter in the history of Dutch decorative art. Originating from the city of Delft, these earthenware pieces are renowned for their distinctive glazes and intricate hand-painted designs. The museum collection, which began a comprehensive research project in 2016, includes approximately 1,600 pieces that have been meticulously studied for their historical and stylistic significance. This initiative not only enhances the understanding of Delftware's art historical context, but also employs scientific methods such as non-destructive X-ray fluorescence analysis. Such detailed scrutiny adds in attribution and dating the pieces, contributing to a broader knowledge of production processes and standards in the fields. The dedication to preserving and studying these artifacts ensures that the legacy of Delft's masters craftsmen continues to inspire and educate future generations.
Use starters from fireplaces to start with, and then the mixture formed.
This special collection also houses an exquisite array of historical musical instruments that resonate with the rich musical heritage of the Netherlands. Among these are stringed instruments, such as the cithern by Johannes Theodorus Cuypers, and the harpsichords of the renowned Ruckers family, which are displayed in their full glory. The collection includes a variety of keyboard instruments, like the virginal and clavichord, which offer a glimpse into domestic music-making practices of the past. The pianoforte by Erhard Ferrer, displayed here, exemplifies the evolution of the piano and its impact on the musical landscape of Europe. The dulcimer and psaltery, Found in this room are examples of percussive string instruments that were popular in medieval and Renaissance music, and their design and decoration reflect the artistic trends of their respective eras. Silverware in the Rijksmuseum is equally remarkable, with miniature silverwork that reflects the high level of skills and attention to detail prevalent among Dutch silversmiths. These pieces range from practical utensils to elaborate showpieces, each telling a story of social customs and artistic trends throughout Dutch history. As one traverses through the special collections section, it becomes clear that each item, whether a ship model, a piece of armor, a porcelain, a gun, or a silver goblet, is a fragment of a larger narrative. These collections are not just displays of aesthetic beauty, but are historical documents that prove a window into the lives, wars, trade, and artistic endeavor of the Dutch people over the centuries. Strolling around the Rijksmuseum, we are greeted by the grandeur of the 19th century building, designed by Pierre Cuypers. Imagine stepping into a time machine, dialing the year back from 1800 to 1700, and embarking on a visual journey through the Low Countries art scene. As the machine gears turn and the scenery blurs, the first stop in the early 1800s reveals a world influenced by French occupation, where the arts are infused with the ornate Rococo style's playful curves and elaborate ornamentations. Neoclassicism begins to emerge, bringing a sense of order and classical antiquity to the artistic narrative. Moving further back, the time traveler would witness the waning of the Low Countries' cultural prominence, a period marked by wars and economic shifts. Yet, even as the grandeur fades, the indelible mark of the Dutch Golden Age remains. As the time machine delves deeper, the influence of the Dutch East India Company becomes apparent. Exotic imports from distant lands fill the canvases, and the wealth from colonial exploits is displayed in ornate, still lifes and portraits, a testament to the era's global reach and the intermingling of cultures. The art and art styles of the Low Countries during the 18th century are a rich tapestry of cultural expression reflecting a period of significant political, economic, and social change. Again, the 18th century, however, marked a decline in the region's cultural prominence due to the wars and economic competition from England and France. During this time, the Low Countries fell under French occupation, and the arts were influenced by French styles, notably the ornate Rococo and later Neoclassicism. Dutch colonial endeavors, especially through the Dutch East India Company, had a profound impact on the arts. Wealth acquired from colonial ventures was often showcased in opulent still life paintings and lavish interiors filled with fine local goods and exotic imports reflecting the nation's newfound wealth and global connections. These artworks serve not only as a display of wealth, but also as a visual record of cultural and economic exchange between the Dutch and their colonies. The Ottoman courts, known for their distinctive artistic styles, also influenced European art, albeit more indirectly compared to the Dutch colonial impact. While the indirect influence of Ottoman art on the Low Countries is less documented, the exchange of ideas and goods across the vast Ottoman Empire and Europe inevitably led to some level of artistic cross pollination. In summary, the art of the Low Countries from 1700 to 1800 is a reflection of the region's golden age and its subsequent periods of challenge and change. The era was marked by a blend of local artistic innovation and external influences, including the significant impact of Dutch colonialism and the more subtle, yet present, inspirations from the Ottoman courts. These influences are evident in the diverse range in the artistic expressions from Grand Baroque masterpieces to the detailed depictions of everyday life and the natural world. The Rijksmuseum, designed by the architect Pierre Cuypers, is a treasure trove of art and history, encapsulated the essence of Dutch history and heritage. From the outside, one can appreciate the intricate blend of Gothic and Renaissance architectural styles that Cuypers masterfully combined. The museum's facade itself is a canvas, showcasing sculptures and reliefs that hint at the richness contained within. Notably, the Gorkum Gate, part of Cuypers' vision for the museum's gardens as an outdoor museum, can be seen representing historical structures that were once under threat of demolition. This gate, along with other architectural fragments, enriches the outdoor experience of the museum, inviting onlookers into a dialogue with the past. Moreover, weaponry of the Lords of Hartog, significant for its historical value, is part of the museum's extensive collection. Just stepped out of the Rijksmuseum and boy, are my eyes tired and my feet. Not from crying at the beauty of Dutch art, but from trying to pronounce this subtlety of neoclassical finesse cross-pollination correctly. Well, if you enjoyed following my museum tour, don't forget to hit that like button harder than Van Gogh hit those brushstrokes. And subscribe for more artful adventures. Because let's face it, You need more culture in your life, and I need more subscribers. It's a win-win. Thank you for watching. Until the next time, goodbye.